Hello, I'm Theodore Parker, and this is a sideshow. Monday, October 31st, the last day of October for 2022. Around here, the temperature's about 60 degrees, feels like 59, 1 degree off. Over the weekend, we've had showers back and forth in this area, so it's a little bit damp this morning, but still fall weather, leaves on the ground, trees showing their colors. Cool in the morning, warming up during the rest of the day. Of course, message is the same. If you got to go out and your positivity rate in your area is above 5%, take a mask with you if you plan on being around people. And speaking of that, COVID-19, they probably take things across the board over the weekend, et cetera, but it's hitting the news now, news feed, as far as COVID-19 is concerned. You know, China has a zero COVID-19 policy. They were even at one time locking people up for not in China, for not observing, staying indoors when they were told to. So it's resurfacing in discussions as to whether or not China is actually responsible in some form or fashion for COVID-19. Originally, as in so many cases, it says it was a lab experiment that got away from them, or some kind of specific lab for studying virology and things of this nature, and they didn't have the necessary precautions, and something happened and the virus got out and it just went rampant. So this is coming around again. So there are some inner office memos, I would say that, but going on between the lab and in where it's located in China and the head person of China, Xi Jinping, as to what happened, because the original concept was, which was widely accepted, was that there was some kind of bat infestation that bit something at a wet market, which I interpreted to be, you know, animals that were out in the wild or whatever, brought in and slaughtered in preparation to sell. Okay, now the concept is that this quote unquote, the market was actually a seafood outlet. So this puts a whole different connotation on things from what was originally discussed. So it's still not quite nailed down as far as the level of responsibility is concerned, but there is some admission to viruses being handled in a lab in China, where there may have been some emergency situations and things got away from them, resulting in worldwide COVID-19. So we know that Dr. Fauci is scheduled to retire in December of this year. One of those few government appointments that's considered to be lifetime, like a Supreme Court position. So, moving on. If you're watching on Facebook, WhatsApp, or Instagram, like, comment, and share. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. Got the cups here with the sideshow logo on it. I wouldn't go so far as to say that I'm pushing, selling cups. But if you watch a sideshow and you're in a viewing audience and you would like to have one, they're available. $8. Text me on one of those apps and let me know you want one for $8 or maybe more than one. And we'll go ahead and make the arrangements. I will make the arrangements. Text me and say, I want a cup, Sideshow cup. And we can take it from there. $8. Now, so getting into the weekend. The weekend was kind of like whatever, but we'll start off with this one. Natalia Bryant, had visited UK. So a news item says, I didn't know that. UK squeaked by in their exhibition game. I shouldn't say squeaked by, but whatever the headline said, it was not pretty, but they did win. So it's sort of like tying the two things together. I know it was just another news item said that Vanessa had visited at USC with Natalia a few weeks ago. And that was like an item. So we have all these situations going on, but it surprised me that she came to UK. Not that it's, strange, but California to UK. So you just have business around the basketball situation, being as it is, although my understanding is that Natalia's sport is volleyball. So on. So, back and forth, strange as it may seem, it was the weekend, it was trick or treat, Halloween, all that good stuff. So did Denver and the Jaguars really play at Wembley Stadium in the UK? Or was that just a flash by for, filling up the games? And Denver won, led by Russell Wilson. How about that one? And did the Lakers come off their losing streak with a win? Over Denver, 123 to whatever it was, 101 or 102. Lakers coming off of it. And speaking of Philadelphia flying 7-0, making history. They got somebody in the football leading, the only undefeated team in the NFL at this point. They got them in the World Series, just tied with the Astros. Phillies came out winning on the first game, and Astros won game number 2. And I guess that just leaves basketball, football, baseball, right? There you have it. 3 major sports: football, baseball, and there you go. So anyway, they start running all the history of Philadelphia and their wins and streaks and things of this nature, how long it's been intermediately, but they are still undefeated at this point. That was week 8 of the NFL games. Bunch of stuff. Weekend was kind of, it was tragic in a lot of areas, so we'll move backwards. In Brazil, this has been on my news feed for weeks now. Luciana de la Lula, whatever his name is. It's too long for me to figure. Okay, but they say Lula defeats Bolsonaro in tight runoffs, returns to Brazil's presidency. Bolsonaro. So Lula got thrown off, and that's just a shortened version of his name, because in 2016 he did some prison time for something that he went afoul of the law for, so he wasn't able to zip right back in there in 2018, so he had to wait. The next run is this time. So, but it was close. The people were all over it. They had stuff on my news feed that just went on for days, from the quote unquote common man to the higher up celebrities. And come to find out, the vote was 50.9 to 49.1 in favor of Bolsonaro. So it was tight. It was a tight race down there in Brazil. South America. Okay. Some of the tragedies, well, let's just start in the Philippines. Philippines right now is going through their typhoon season. And you kind of have to take this with a grain of salt. You know, if you want to grow crops and have food coming out of the ground, you need your rain. So this is kind of like their typhoon season right in these particular months right here. So they already had one major one. But this one coming up, Nalgi, it resulted in that first, when I first heard it and it didn't say anything, I think it was 42 people that had died due to a mudslide in one of the regions of the Philippines. Then it came back and now the number is up to 50 with some people missing still. You have to keep an eye on that. I think they have the necessary people to move in and take care of it and shed some video of people being rescued and carried over thigh-high water or waist-deep water in some instances and things of this nature. So that's that. Just repaired a bridge in India, I believe it was. It was like a colonial-style bridge, and recently repaired it. It was a Traverse Bridge, and the people were out celebrating. And for some odd reason, the crowd decided to make the bridge sway. So the bridge was not equipped for that. So over 100 people, when the bridge snapped or broke, fell into the river. So I think maybe 132 people, if the numbers all totaled up, lost their lives in that failure of the suspension bridge. So they're still trying to recover from that. In Seoul, Korea, Halloween celebrations. And the crowd surge there left 153 dead. This is similar to the Thailand tragedy with 140 some dead trying to get out of the stadium when it only had one entrance. But Seoul is known for the pop group K-pop and also BTS. And I think they were scheduled to perform for this particular event. But when all this happened, then obviously they changed their ideas. So I mentioned 130 something, but 60 are confirmed dead on that bridge collapse in India. In Ukraine, in the Kherson region, hospitals were being cleared out by the Russians, and outrage grows over Russia's suspension of grain. Whether or not you recall, excuse me, Russia had control of the seaport, Odessa, and the whole world was suffering because Ukraine exports 80% of its grain to the world, Africa and other countries in Europe and so forth and so on. So when they had everything held up, they couldn't do any of that business. So now there's different reports rolling in that Ukrainians have killed 75,000 troops of the Russians, and Russians can't escape to go nowhere because they blew up those bridges that were on the line of retreat. And with the method of assault and assistance that the Ukrainians are using, they even attacked the Russian naval fleet or some of their boats out in the bay or whatever it is. So it's just been a weekend as far as world events are concerned. So in this country, there's more follow-up in regards to the elections coming up. I think November 8th in this area. You're going to get out there and vote or not. So you can continue to think about that and arrangements that you want to make to participate. So I think we could probably end with a feel-good story, as is my habit. This is Monday, last day of the month, first day of the week. Tomorrow is November 1st, 2022. So listen to this one. Julia Roberts reveals Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. paid the hospital bill for her birth. I thought that would catch your ear. During a conversation with Gayle King for the History Channel's History Talks, Julia Roberts revealed the civil rights activist covered her birth bill. Now I was wondering about the timeline on all of this and how that could have happened, but here we go. During a conversation with Gayle King for A&E, that's Arts and Entertainment Networks and History Channel's History Talks on September 24th, Roberts revealed that the civil rights activist and his wife, Coretta Scott King, covered the hospital bill for her birth. In response to a question how the relationship between the Kings and Roberts' parents, Betty and Walter Roberts, began, the 55-year-old actress replied, "My parents had a theater school in Atlanta called the Actors and Writers Workshop. And one day, Coretta Scott King called my mother and asked if her kids could be part of the school because they're having a hard time finding a place that would accept her kids. My mom was like, sure, come on over. And so they all just became friends and they helped us out of a jam." You can, get some more details on that, some more quotes and things related to that era of the civil rights movement. And Julia Roberts and Coretta Scott King and Martin Luther King Jr., friends of the family. So that's a feel-good moment right there, you think? Think so? So, here we are. Don't forget, like to get a cup for $8, text me. Let me know. We'll arrange that. But as it is right now, it's Monday, October 31st, officially Halloween. All those that didn't get their trick and treating done, Saturday and Sunday, 2022. This is a side show. I'm Theodore Parker. That's it. Hashtag.